What's going on, guys, in the works, and welcome to some super exclusive, never before seen footage of Titanfall. But all joking aside, we are going to be looking at some Titanfall today, and there has been an interesting response from a lot of the people among the Battlefielder community, especially on this game, and even within the Call of Duty community. It seems like the jury's out on Titanfall. You either love it or you hate it. There's not a whole lot of middle ground with this game, and the response has been kind of strange to me. It seems like a lot of people haven't given Titanfall a chance because they feel like if you're a Battlefield purist, you can't actually enjoy this game. Well, I'm going to go over some of the things that I've observed over the past weekend because I spent the whole weekend playing the beta to get a feel for it, to get an idea of what we were really in for with Titanfall. And let's just start off with the things I like. I like the way this game plays. This game runs as smooth as you could possibly ever need it to run. I mean, it's as simple as that. Now, you may notice there my aim was a little bit goofy. The one thing that I think is hindering this from the PC standpoint is in order to get consistent good performance, I had to turn on VSync, which in turn gave me a little bit of input lag. Now, that might just have been, because of the setup I'm running, it ran best on VSync. I don't know. I didn't really play around with the settings a whole lot, but that was one thing I noticed. Not an issue for you console guys, your Xbox One guys, or there wasn't a beta on Xbox 360, but it'll also not be an issue on that because you'll probably be capped at like 60 frames per second. But the actual gameplay mechanics, the actual way the game runs is super smooth, and that is what I was really looking to find out with Titanfall, because it is a game that's based on these parkour type movements, these wall climbs, these jumps and stuff like that. You're going to expect the game to run super smooth, and this guy is very, very sneaky. You're going to expect the game to run almost perfect, because when you're in a situation like that, you need to be able to predict where you're going to go. And if it's sitting there and chugging along, you got a lot of stuttering and stuff like that, it's just not going to be a very fun experience. So I am very impressed with that. I think they did a good job implementing the Source engine into the game. Now, one other thing that I want to point out is the pacing of the game. That has been the biggest criticism among a lot of people, is that they feel like people just die way too quick. And I think there's actually two sides of that story, and it's a negative side and a good side. Well, this game is a mech-based game. That's where they want the strategic sort of gameplay behind it, is using your mechs, the mechs on mechs battle. Then you throw in the fact you got to deal with grunts that'll sometimes shoot at you, which, the AI part, it's not really that big of a deal. A lot of people look at the AI, it's like, oh, you can just harvest kills. But if you kill like 50 AI in a game, you're not going to get that many points. Let's face it, you just won't do that well. But I think the gunplay aspect of Titanfall is very shallow when you compare it to a game like Battlefield or even Call of Duty, because there's not a lot of recoil. The guns don't seem to have a whole lot of characteristics. When I shoot a gun in like Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, I feel like I get that feedback, that feeling of like, hey, I'm hitting this target. I feel like I'm actually the person shooting the gun, because you've got the recoil, you got the different compensation that you have to add to the weapon. Whereas with Titanfall, it's just kind of like there's no recoil on the weapons, and all the weapons just kind of feel like you're just going through the processes of shooting a gun. Which, is all fine and dandy since they're all kind of like that, but it does sort of detract from the experience. And I know it's a petty complaint, but it's just something that I noticed as a first-person shooter player that I think other games have done better. So I don't think that Titanfall is going to win any sort of awards when it comes to its gunplay. Like I said, they focus more on the mechs when it comes to that, because the mechs, there's a lot of Titan strategery, to quote George Bush, that goes into a battle. It's actually kind of fun. I actually enjoy it a lot. It reminds me of like a tank battle in Battlefield 3. Sometimes it can turn into a war of attrition. Sometimes it can, just turn into a slugfest where you both run up on each other and you just go crazy. So I do enjoy that aspect of it. But going back to what I initially started talking about with the pacing of the game, I do think it can work. I think that in a competitive environment, I don't think we'll have any problems with the pacing of the game or anything like that. Even though the gunplay does feel a little bit shallow, like I said, a lot of the strategy comes behind the Titan fights, which is fine with me because I think that makes sense when your game is called Titanfall. But let's get to the meat of this video. Since we've talked about some of the things I like, some of the things I don't like, is Titanfall a game that you will personally like? And this is a really tricky question, because I have no idea what you as a gamer likes. I mean, are you a Halo fan? Are you a Battlefield fan? Do you only like Battlefield? Was Battlefield your first person shooter? There's a lot of factors here that could influence your decision on whether or not you're going to like Titanfall. But I'll put it like this. Titanfall is a fun game that lacks a lot of the frustrating rage moments that I get in a lot of other first-person shooters. Are there things in this game that make me a little bit annoyed? Yes. But are they things that I think are game-breaking? Not so much. Like, when I say that, the first thing that comes to mind is the Smart Pistol. The Smart Pistol is a little bit frustrating to go against, but then when you think about it, it's like that noob weapon in the game. It's basically there to give someone a crutch, but it's not something that someone's going to dominate you with. Because if you pick the Smart Pistol, you actually have to equip it as a primary. Pretty annoying, you know. It's not really going to give you many advantages in a fight, because you do have to get pretty close to actually lock on. And I'm getting rodeoed right here, and this is one of the first times I ever realized that you could actually rodeo. And I thought it was funny, so I just left it in there. I was like, alright, we'll just leave it in there as he finally gets killed off me. But, you know, I think if you are on the fence about Titanfall, you definitely need to sit down and play the game in the beta before the end. I think the beta ends on the 19th. You need to sit down and make your assessment, decide whether or not you think that it's going to be a game for you. Because I don't see it changing a whole lot from this build to the final build. I think this is one of the better betas I've ever played in, which is surprising because I've played in a ton of betas and I didn't expect this one to be one of the best ones. But I definitely think it's a fast-paced game. There is a larger skill gap, I think, between the really good players and the bad players, which is nice to see. But there are some things in there for everybody, and I think the fast pacing is what sets this apart from some of the other first-person shooters that are on the market. So if you got a little apathy towards Battlefield 4 and you want to just mix things up, I think Titanfall is probably a game that you'll want to check out and at least give it a chance. If you're not really big into the mindless sort of killing type games, you might want to consider something else, because you know, this game is definitely not going to be for everyone. I'll be the first to admit that. I personally enjoy it because I like mech-type games. You know, I'm a big fan of Hawken. I like faster-paced shooters every once in a while. Like Unreal Tournament was one of my favorite games ever. So I think if you can handle the faster pacing of the game versus like a game like Battlefield or Ghost Recon, I think you can enjoy Titanfall. So let me know what you guys think. Have you been enjoying the beta? Is Titanfall a game you're going to buy, or are you going to just pass on it? And let me know if you played Battlefield, if you're a Battlefield player and you're going to get Titanfall, because that's something that I think is interesting to me, how many Battlefield players can actually enjoy Titanfall. But I will see you guys next time. Peace.